Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. A couple of things I want to talk about in this video. Number one though, and I just can't ignore it, and I think a lot of people are talking about it, a lot of people are posting about it, is the Marvel Spotlight 5 9.8 sale. Recently sold for, what was it, $264,000, whatever it is. Insane price, but I think that is a record-setting price. Astounding. I never would have thought that, well, here's my copy, but it's not a 9.8, that this book would sell for that much. I've said it before, and I've showed this book many times on this channel. My copy's probably like a 7.5, maybe an 8.0 on a good day, which is still a very nice low high grade or high mid-grade copy, in whatever way you want to describe it. It's still a pretty good copy. But never would I have thought that Marvel Spotlight 5 would command so much money in 8.0, 7.5, 9.0 range. And even beyond that, I never would have thought a 9.8 would have sold for what it sold for on Heritage recently. It's just something else. I don't really know why, though, that there's so much interest in Ghost Rider. You know, we all hear rumors that he's supposed to be in Doctor Strange, but so what? You know, we've heard these sort of things before, but who knows? Everyone is jumping on the Ghost Rider bandwagon, I guess, but it really is insane. So if you want to for a deeper analysis of this, there are other channels and other people to listen to when it comes to this recent sale, the price and all that stuff. But I just had to acknowledge it because I usually acknowledge things related to Marvel Spotlight 5 because of all the books that I've been talking about on this channel over the last couple of months, and all the books that you know of that have spiked in value. You have your X-Men #1s, your Marvel, obviously your Marvel Spotlight 5. That's the one I find the most impressive for whatever reason. Okay, X-Men #1, it's gone up to a high price in low grade, high low grade, mid grade, whatever. High, but it is still X-Men #1, and one could argue that that book was probably a little underrated for a while. It was expensive, but it was a little underrated. And I don't understand why it was so underrated, because the X-Men, although not popular in the 60s, became very popular in the late 70s, early 80s. I think, wasn't it the X-Men that was carrying Marvel Comics at that time? This usually fluctuated between X-Men and Spider-Man. But I find Marvel Spotlight 5, that increase, even in the copy that I have right there, just really astonishing. Because to spend about what my copy goes for, about $3,000 now, to put aside $3,000 for a comic book back when I first started getting into the hobby again in 2013, 2014, I would have thought that money would have gone to an X-Men #1. Or Amazing Spider-Man #1, or Tales of Suspense 39, low grades, of course. That's what I thought I would spend $3,000, maybe $4,000 on. Never would have thought that now, today, some 6, 7, 8 years later, whatever, but 7 years later, whatever it was, that now that $3,000, $4,000 goes for a 8.0, 8.5, 7.5 Marvel Spotlight 5. Never would have thought that. But whatever. That's the first thing I just wanted to mention in this video. The other thing that I wanted to mention is storage of comics. Now, I covered this on this channel, I don't know, a couple of years ago or whatever. I'll just do a quick recap because I've been asked a couple of times, how do you store your comics? When it comes to boxes and bags and all that stuff. So I figure I'd do a quick recap in this video for those that are interested. So we'll start off again with Marvel Spotlight 5. Now, for any book of significance in my collection, Okay, ones that obviously I decided or I haven't CGC'd yet. I'm a little behind on doing that, but then again, I think CGC's a little behind on grading books too. But any book of significance, I put in a Mylar bag, and I use 2 mil. Now I purchased one time 4 mil, and I found out that they're just way too. I mean, they provide excellent protection. They're very stiff. It's almost like when you put a comic in one of those 4 mil Mylars, it's almost like it has a backing board in it. It's so stiff. I mean, you still got to put a board in it, obviously, but it's really good quality. For me, I don't like it. Sometimes it's hard to get the book out for those of us that, every now and then like to pull these books out. I don't do it often. I don't like to handle them that often. But for every now and then, I like to enjoy it the way Nick would like to enjoy opening up a copy of one of his books, just to have the book in hand. So I really don't like to use the 4 mil because you got to be very careful taking it out and putting it back in, because it's very, very stiff. And if you mess up or your hand slips or whatever, and you get the corner here against this, and even with these bags, 2 mil, but especially with 4 mil, it'll shear the cover right off, or at least a decent amount shear the cover. So, I mean, you could be careful and do it. I'm not saying, oh, don't do it because of that, but it's the reason why I'm like, not really. It's a bit of a pain in the butt. So that's why I use 2 mil. All right, for those that are wondering why I use 2 mil. And what else is there to say about it? Okay, maybe some of you know a little bit on the back here. I write down in the bottom left corner the collection that it's from, and I determine it's not a real collection it's coming from. It's my collection, obviously, and I put the date down. Sometimes I have the exact date, like April 4th or April 5th, 2015, 18, whatever it is. But most of the time I just have the month and the year. So I put all that inside the board on the back of the last board. Also on the back, I label what's the significance of the book. Is it a first appearance? Is it an origin? Is it a death? Usually goes in the top left corner on a little sticker. Also on the opposite side, I use a round sticker and I put the grade. For instance, I have this listed as a 7.5. It could be an 8.0, but I feel comfortable with grading this at a 7.5. So that's what I do. So I have a bunch of information about the book. I mean, I know Marvel Spotlight 5 is the first appearance of the Ghost Rider. I mean, I guess it's a little silly to put down first appearance of Ghost Rider. I know that, but it's something I did when I first started collecting comics way back in 1993. That's why I used to write it on the inside of the board, very similar to this. I would write what it was, because sometimes I would forget what it was when I was new to the hobby. Oh, it's the first appearance of this character. It's the first full appearance of this character. And like I said, sometimes I would forget, and that's why I did it. It's just something that it stuck with me over the years. No, I'm not going to forget this is the first appearance of Ghost Rider. I'm not going to say, oh, what is this again? Marvel Spotlight 5? But I just do it anyway. The kind of boards. Well, let's one last thing about the outer part. The tape. You see, it's diagonal. Now, depending on which way you open the book, again, those of us that like to open these up every now and then, I like little resistance when I open the book, and I really dislike it when there are 2 pieces of tape. I just don't like it. It's difficult to open and all of that. When I first started collecting years ago, that's what I like to do because I wanted it to be secure, but it's just as secure. If you store them in the box, right, without having to worry about the flap going up, flap over here, you don't have any problems with bending on the sides with 1 piece of tape. So anyway, I put it diagonally because it's easier to open. Now, whenever I open the books, I come in from the left side and I run my finger through. And that's why I have the tape going diagonally toward the bottom right. So when I do that, it opens up pretty easily for me. So then I can open it up, pull the book out, put it back in, all that stuff. It's no problem. I know some people, they prefer to maybe pull the tape off or created a flap where they could pull the tape off. That works too. Everyone has their own way of doing it, but this is just my way. And I know some people use the painter's tape. That works too. I'm not saying anything negative about anybody else's way of doing things, but this is just the way I do it. So, with that being said, let's open up the book. See, nice and easy. Squeeze and then pull it open very easily. This and boom. Now, most of the time, I have been switching out, but most of the time I just use regular, speaking of which, for all books of significance, like I said, that get the Marvel, I use Silver Age bags. Unless it's a Golden Age book, then it gets a Golden Age bag. Tales from the Crypt books, I use Atom Age bags, which is sort of silver and golden. They're not quite as big as old Golden Age books from the 40s, and they're not quite as I don't want to say small, but when it comes to the actual measurement of a Silver Age book or a Bronze Age book, they're not quite that size either. So I found that for my Tales from the Crypt collection, which is like in the 50s, there's something called, I think, silver gold Mylars. That's what I use for those. But for anything else, obviously Silver Age, Bronze Age, Copper Age, Modern Age, all get a silver Mylar. So that being said, the boards I use, I am switching out though. I just use regular BCW boards, but I've been moving towards getting full backs. They're sturdy. I think they're better quality. And I usually put 3 boards in a bag. With full backs, you only put two boards. Okay, but this one, like I said, this is an older. I've had this book for about 6 years now, so it's probably should change the boards. And when I do, I'm going to be using full backs. But a lot of the books in my collection still have the regular Silver Age backing boards. All right. When we open up the book, as I will do it delicately here on camera for you, I usually have on the first page and the very last page microchamber paper. Okay. I believe it helps with preventing, inks, like when you have a red cover or even a black cover, the inks from bleeding into the first wrap and some other things. So I have microchamber paper on the front and the back. All right. So we talked about the boards, the bag, the tape, the descriptions, what's inside the book, all that. And another thing, it may seem silly to even, let me just put this back in for a second. It may seem silly to say, see, it slips right back in, nice and easily, and boom, done. It may seem silly to say, but I usually, see, like this, and here's the flap over here. I know some people do it the opposite way, where you have the book like this, but the flap is actually on the bottom. I know my comic book shop owner, he does that. And some of you may do that. But, with him, that's the first time I saw someone do it. But I figured I would address it. And the reason why I don't do that, I mean, I guess it's cool. Everyone has their own way. But the reason why I don't do that is because a few moments ago when I was talking about, I only have one piece of tape. And, sometimes people put 2 pieces of tape to really secure the flap down so it doesn't, get stuck in the box and fold and all that stuff. 1 piece of tape works fine. When you do it like this and you put the books down, you be extra careful not to get the tape, not to get the flap all wrinkled up and stuff. But I found it's a lot harder to do that. Many times when you store the books, when you have the flap on the bottom, other books that are right next to it get stuck sometimes and force it like this, and then the bags are all messed up. I try to keep everything nice and neat, and I feel that method isn't always the best. I have to take an extra step to make sure that the flaps are all even down on the book, on the back of the book. So that's why I don't do that. When it comes to other forms of storage, where all the books of any significance go, I mean, I put them in those hard shell black BCW storage bins. bins. I have short box ones, and I show the video of that, so I'm not going to show it again. But I like using those. I put any book of significance in there, and there's nothing wrong with having the regular long box, cardboard long box or short box. I don't think that's really much of a deal. It's just a cosmetic thing. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But that's where I store my books. And for books that I want to sell eventually, or I have duplicates that I think I'm going to sell, fairly soon or down the line, I just put them in a regular cardboard storage box. So nothing really spectacular. All right. But if you have any questions about any of this, or if I didn't cover anything that you want to know about storage, the way I store at least, I can't speak for other people, just let me know in the comments. One last thing though, I can't let this video end without talking about another book that seems to be picking up steam. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but it's just another one of those things that I've noticed is starting to command a little bit more money than what it's been getting so far. And I think it's definitely due to the Loki series. It's Dark Reign Young Avengers #1. This book right here. I think it's the first appearance of the second Enchantress. I got this book well over a year ago. Someone gave it to me. Not only did someone give me it, they gave me 4 copies of it. And the reason why I was interested in it, because it was the first appearance of the second Enchantress. I have the first one with Journey into Mystery 103, and I was like, oh, there's another version of her? Yeah, there is. And she makes her first appearance in this, and that's why I inquired about it, and I just was given 4 copies, plus the rest of the series. There's 5. It's a 1 of 5. I have the rest over there, so I don't know if those are going for anything. But yeah, this is the latest one. I think it's selling. I'll have something up, as you can see. As you can see, it's selling for maybe around $100, maybe a little less, a little more. So I don't know how long that's going to last. But the point is, if you have these in your collection, have a couple of them, and you're thinking about selling, man, now might be the time to unload some of those Dark Reign of Young Avengers #1 books. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Again, if you have any other questions about storage, I tried to give you a summed up version of how I store books. Books of value in my collection. Again, it's just the way I store things. It's not necessarily the correct way or the right way or the best way for others. It's just all of those things for me. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and be safe and take care.